Shalom, family, and thank you for joining us here at Remnant House, the home of the strong and the very courageous. And I was asked a very good question by a friend and member of Remnant House concerning the New Kingdom Shekel. So we're going to talk about money. And if you don't want to talk about that, turn this video off, because that's what this entire discussion is going to be about. And so this question was concerning the New Kingdom Shekel and the current system that we find ourselves in. And at the risk of sounding stupid, the question was, will there be a day when you'll be able to explain this for those of us who have trouble understanding the implications of this? After being stuck in Babylon for so long, I can at least say for myself and my husband, we don't understand what this means for people. I truly don't even know what questions to ask. And I think that's a very honest and a well-asked question, actually. And now, if you knew the person asking this question, you would know they are quite intelligent. So don't feel bad if this topic seems to confuse you. I believe that was intentional by our adversary. And so you are recovering and your eyes are opening, but there are real consequences for the decisions made by previous generations that we have inherited. There are spiritual implications, there are financial implications, and there are some practical implications that we're going to talk about. Let's start with the spiritual implications, because this is the, I think, most important element of this topic and discussion. The spiritual implications of the creation of a debt instrument as currency is unique in Earth's history. This clever trick industrialized the era of Balaam, which is to cause people to curse themselves. According to Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 7, it says, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant or slave to the lender." Theft by guile is still theft, and Messiah warned that they would break through and steal. Okay, so he warned us about this. Nevertheless, we are victims of this very clever ruse. The imagery and dedication of this currency is for the building of what they call the Nouveau Ordo Seclorum, as stated plainly on their currency. They make zero effort to hide what they are doing and what people have been deceived into working for. So all of us fell for this, no exceptions. The spiritual implications are manifested all around you in your world. There is no financial freedom, and what we do have manifested everywhere is colossal debt. Everyone has. You cannot escape debt with a debt-based currency. So they managed to trick generations into fiat wealth instead of building true wealth. And after a lifetime of work, most end as they began. This is based in part on the demonic trick of Babylonian money magic, which puts a spell on the user that only the tithe can break. In James chapter 4 and verse 7, he says, "Submit yourselves therefore to Elohim. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." So only those who followed the mechanisms afforded by the scripture would escape. He provides a way of escape. The reality is that we have been deceived by very powerful spiritual forces into placing value in their new world order kingdom. So all of us have to now deal with that implication. The second part of this is the financial implications, where the rubber meets the road. The financial implications of this well-designed demonic trap is that you are never free. You can never achieve the, quote, financial freedom they dangle in the face of their citizens, because it cannot exist in a debt-based commercial system where the, quote, wealthy have amassed the most debt instruments in their, quote, bank account. And since the inception of the modern Federal Reserve note, which originally was based directly and established by gold and then silver, backed by gold and silver, which was the way that they did that. And the purchasing power of the Federal Reserve dollar has plummeted to approximately 3% of its original value, and there's no end in sight. The implications are quite clear. Every year that people function in this fiat currency subjects them to the curse of poverty that is inherent in a slavery-based system. That's the invisible force you've all been fighting. It is the love of mammon that is indeed the root of all evil, and this clever device, which all citizens must handle, is the perfect device to deceive the entire world. Now, no matter how much money you make in their system, it's still their money. In the end, they have power over what they have created. The end result is perpetual battle and slavery, even when people seem to have financial success. Ultimately, their system will come at a great price. In Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, it says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." We know that they will call in their mammon and require all to comply with their rules, so all who have accumulated in their system will be trapped. Now, what's some of the practical implications? So now that you've looked at the spiritual implications of being an accomplice in their system and a supporter of the New World Order, we realize the seriousness of this moment. The remnant have no fellowship or partnership with the works of darkness, which includes how we labor and where we put our gifts and talents to work. This is precisely what was demonstrated by the first century believers who were set apart and arranged their lives to remain distinct and preserve the scriptures upon which we depend to this very day, as their legacy lives on in us. And as a father of our faith, Abraham demonstrated our attitude toward the systems of greed and control in this world are disconnection. In Genesis 14 and verse 23, he says that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, as he spoke to the king of Sodom, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich. So we have to examine the practical implications. We have to look at it. We have to be honest. Some people are waking up and getting rid of their driver's license, or asserting their sovereign rights on the side of the road in a traffic stop or in a court appearance. But the implications are far more comprehensive. Yes, it is the love of mammon that is the root of all evil. So the entire point of a bank is to be a place to safely and securely store your value, store what you worked for, store what you earned. Now imagine it's 2010 and you put $5,000 in the bank, and another person who does not trust the banks with their money and their value decided instead to convert all his savings and any kind of currency he doesn't need to use immediately in a different medium. No matter if this person chose stocks, bonds, gold, silver, or Bitcoin, any of the above would have done better than just putting that mammon in the bank. Why? Isn't a bank an extension of the Federal Reserve note system and thereby the best possible place to store value? Actually, no. Of all those different places that you could have put your money in 2010, there is one outstanding asset that none of the others will ever reach. Bitcoin outperformed every asset class because, unlike Federal Reserve notes and fiat currency, Bitcoin was a simple, honest ledger of transactions. As there is a finite number of coins and no one can make more indiscriminately, the value of each coin had no place to go but up. In 2010, your $5,000 would buy you 5,000 Bitcoin. 15 years later, that same $5,000 or 5,000 Bitcoin are worth $465 million. That's $465 million. So which bank was a better bank for that person to store their value in 2010? Nothing else even came close, including the famed gold and silver. All of that value is what your dollar should be worth. That's where it's being stolen from. So as a practical matter, it makes no sense to long-term store with a system that is perpetually devaluing, in my personal opinion, even if you ignore the spiritual and financial implications. Lastly, there's a matter of what you're supporting. You see, that person who put their money in Bitcoin or some other digital asset not only did not put it in the bank, but converted it out of debt into a different form. And that was a bit like neutral ground. This allowed the buying value or purchasing power to be retained and grow in relation to the original purchasing currency. Certainly not the case in the Federal Reserve note system, and it doesn't matter which one of the fiat currencies we're talking about, where that 5,000, whether it be euro or any other currency, would barely buy a fraction of what it once bought when first put in their bank account. Speaking of practicality, have you ever tried to sell a bar of gold real quick? It's not as easy as people think. And if you have bills to pay or a need to meet or a family to feed, bartering with gold or silver isn't going to go the way you might think. Essentially, you'll be engaging the same risk as a back alley drug deal, with far less civilization to impede the base nature of carnal man. The bad guys know there are no police coming in a grid down, you have to barter for food situation. This is not a good plan on a good day, much less tribulation time. In 2020, the judgment time had come, as it was the expiration of 20 years since the word of Yahuwah was delivered to 40 cities. This also marked the beginning of their lockdowns, coincidentally, as kingdom rose against kingdom. The NKDM Shekel was created on the XLM network and is the only currency unit on earth governed by the Torah on set-apart land. The policies and management of the NKDM Shekel shall perpetually be the responsibility of the elders of New Kingdom, who will perpetually be charged with the Jeremiah 23 responsibility of the fruitful increase of Yahuwah's people. So the question is the same as you would ask that person in 2010 as a practical matter. Do you want to keep your money on Babylonian banks, or would you like to put it in the kingdom of Yahuwah, where it will be safely stored should you need it? The NKDM Shekel is a set-apart means to store value that is not under the power of the wicked one. It's that simple. No other currency on earth can make that claim. Thanks for joining us.